Hello everyone, in this video I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Shahbaz Gill to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Shahbaz Gill's words. In today's important news, let's first talk about the 9th Muharram. Yes, on the 9th and 10th of Muharram, people around the world, especially those who have compassionate hearts, remember the oppression of Karbala and the rights that were taken from the oppressed there. People across the globe feel the grief that the battlefield of Karbala witnessed on this day and strive to always stand with the oppressed. Whether it's by raising a voice, having good thoughts, or praying for them, people are united in their desire to stand against the oppressors. On this day, the intention is also made to raise voices against oppression, no matter how powerful the oppressor may be. In this context, today we talk about the military courts. Those who are under trial, and now they have been sentenced, but they have no right to appeal. You might have heard about Kalapani, black water, but now they are imprisoned under a black law in their own country. And their treatment is as if they have crossed the border into an enemy country. The military has detained them, and they don't even know when they will get justice, when they will see the light of the sun again, or be able to meet their families. You already know about the military court's status. Initially, it was all planned on the 9th of May. After the geo-fencing operation, many were arrested and false charges were levied against them. Then trials were conducted in military courts. Pakistan's constitution doesn't even permit trials of civilians in military courts. When this case reached the Supreme Court of Pakistan, the judges clearly declared it unconstitutional and stated that there are courts in the country, and even those accused of terrorism are tried in anti-terrorism courts. So what kind of terrorism had these people committed? Sure, they protested. The allegation is that they burned a house, but it wasn't like the attack on GHQ or the burning of Pakistan Navy assets in Karachi or the killing and chaos that happened elsewhere. This was a rare event where, on the military side, no one was seriously hurt, and thank God no lives were lost. However, more than 25 civilians were killed that day by direct gunfire. No one really talks about their killings or even mentions their names or shows their pictures. The unfortunate thing is that the families of those 25 people who died on May 9th are too scared to even speak up. If there's a victim from that day, it is a worker of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa especially, people were killed by direct gunfire. The direct bullets shot on November 26th are well known because they were caught on camera, but the killings of May 9th are rarely discussed. After the Supreme Court of Pakistan's decision, Chaudhry Nizamuddin Sahib was not pleased, as May 9th was deliberately orchestrated to create fear. Therefore, the military courts refused to follow the Supreme Court's order and kept the people detained. Even though after the Supreme Court's ruling, these individuals remained in military custody for months, their detention was illegal and unconstitutional. They were kept in military custody and everything was done on purpose. Afterward, you know what happened? There was election rigging, amendments to the Constitution, and even a takeover of the Supreme Court. Yes, after the 26th Constitutional Amendment, the Supreme Court itself was changed. The same Supreme Court that had delivered the verdict was replaced with a Chief Justice of the government's choice. Justice Mansoor Ali Shah, who was supposed to become the Chief Justice, was not allowed to take the position. A compliant Chief Justice was appointed and a compliant constitutional bench was formed. Justice Aminuddin, or rather Qazi Aminuddin Shaitan, because he is both a Qazi, judge, and a devil, was placed in the bench. He has a dual role, and you can call him Justice Haji Qazi Aminuddin Shaitan, because he has donned every possible disguise. He sat in the constitutional bench and gave a decision in favor of military courts, allowing civilians to be handed over to military jurisdiction, which was against Pakistan's constitution. But the constitution had already been violated and torn apart by this point, and now Field Marshal Sahib has control over it. However, this same Supreme Court, the one that had been compromised, ruled that within the next few days, about 1.5 months, the government should legislate so that those sentenced by military courts can appeal to the High Courts or the Supreme Court. because generally military courts involve military personnel who are often involved in treason or other military disciplinary matters, and their appeals are usually handled within the military structure itself. It's the army chief who acts as their judge, and everything ends there. Now, these civilians were never supposed to be tried in military courts, but this suited Chaudhry Sahib politically because he formed a political faction. He took them to military courts, knowing full well the Constitution did not allow it, and after the Supreme Court's decision, he looted both the Constitution and the Supreme Court for his own purposes. After capturing them, the military courts passed sentences. Some got 10 years, others 12 years, some 2 years and others 6 years. Those sentenced to 2 years have already completed their sentences and have been released, though some were only pardoned after serving 1 to 1.5 years. But those who were sentenced to 10 or 12 years are still in prison. The Supreme Court had ruled that the government must legislate within 45 days to give these people the right to appeal. But now, more than 60 days have passed, and the government still hasn't initiated any legislative process. A private member bill was submitted by Tehreek-e-Insaf for legislation, but the government has not acted on it. So, as long as these people remain in jail, they cannot appeal, and they have no remedy in Pakistan. The law no longer applies to them. The Constitution of Pakistan previously prohibited civilians from being tried in military courts, but that was violated. Now the same violated Supreme Court is saying they should have the right to appeal, but the government has still not passed any legislation for this purpose. Think about this on the 9th and 10th of Muharram, when we condemn Yazidiyat. And what is Yazidiyat? Think about the families of these people. These young men, their futures have been ruined. Some of them are elderly. Thank God no woman was sentenced in the military courts, though there were attempts to do so. It's fortunate that some sanity prevailed, and women were not included in the script of injustice they had planned, because women in Pakistan have become politically active, and I believe they have demonstrated more political wisdom than men over the past decade. In this situation, Chaudhry Sahib took the worst action against women. You saw how they were detained in prisons and harassed to ensure other women at home would give up their political interests. This was an attempt to stop the increasing political interest of Pakistani women in political matters over the past decade. So once again, we condemn this Yazidiyat, which is taking place on the 9th and 10th of Muharram with regards to the prisoners in military courts, their families, and the violation of their rights simply because they protested. Now let's move on to the next news. Today is the day of Kargil, and memories of Kargil are being refreshed. Especially, let's pray for the martyrs of Kargil and their families, because they have made an invaluable sacrifice for the nation. Any son who sheds his blood for the country is a true hero, and the nation owes him. Every tear shed by their mothers, the orphanhood of their children, and the widowhood of their wives are all sacrifices for the nation. Whether it's Captain Colonel Sher Khan, Captain Hasib, or any other martyr, the entire Pakistani nation mourns for their sacrifices and feels the pain of their families. Today, on this day, when we remember the martyrdom of Imam Hussein and his companions in Karbala, we also remember the sacrifices of our martyrs in Kargil and the struggles of their families. The pain can be felt even more intensely. Where we feel this pain, we pay tribute to it. We honor the bravery of Captain Colonel Sher Khan and present this tribute not only to him, but to all the other officers, soldiers and non-commissioned officers who were fighting there. We give examples of their valor, refresh the memories of those moments, offer prayers for them, and express gratitude towards their families. It is during such moments that we are reminded of our own role as a state. Let us now hear what Lieutenant General, retired Shahid Aziz has to say about this. Approximately over 600 people were martyred. General Pervez Musharraf's bodies were not returned. General Pervez Musharraf claimed that the number was about 300 or slightly more. You say it was 600, double that number. And the bodies, this too is a hearsay because I'm no longer associated with the departments where these numbers are recorded. Why weren't the bodies returned? Perhaps the reason for not retrieving some bodies was because they did not want to disclose the casualties. How many casualties were there? If there were 5,600 men and 300 were killed, half of the force that was involved would have been destroyed. What do you think? If it was a failure, listen carefully, you heard it. We could not honor them the way they had given their lives for us. There must have been some policy made above, whether it was right or wrong. You are aware of these discussions. Was the Kargil policy right or wrong? You have heard it. Nawaz Sharif himself says, "I wasn't even asked. I didn't know. This was Musharraf's adventure." So was it right or wrong? If they had won, everyone would have said it was a good thing. But now that it has failed, everyone says it was wrong. And clearly, if it was done without any strategy, it was mere activism and a wrong plan in which so many of our soldiers were martyred. But let's leave the debate of whether it was right or wrong. But once it happened and our people became martyrs, why did we fail to own up to it? This is a huge question, and especially, this is not something being said by an outsider civilian. This is a general speaking. I've presented Shahid Aziz's statement before you. His statement is on record. No one has rejected, condemned, or forced him to withdraw his statement. There is a custom of abductions for such statements, and General Amjad Shuaib has gone through this. This custom has now become a practice. But at least General Shahid Aziz survived. You can say that his seniority was respected, but his statement remains on record. On the other hand, when we look at our military leadership or what Pervez Musharraf did at the time, we see that after the Kargil War, Shahbaz Sharif and Nawaz Sharif avoided participating in the ceremony to honor the martyrs and even tried to prevent it from being aired on PTV. Instead of the chief ministers of Punjab, all other provincial chief ministers participated. Only Shahbaz Sharif did not attend, and likely Nawaz Sharif didn't either. This is mentioned in Nasim Zahra's book. In her book, she clearly mentions how, on the one hand, the military leadership distanced itself from the matter, and on the other hand, the political leadership of that time also distanced itself. But the mothers could not distance themselves. The mothers whose children were martyred there, they could not distance themselves from this. Let's listen to the statement of a martyr's mother on this situation. Our Musharraf Sahib did not own it. The Indians said that the dead bodies were safe with them. I cried loudly and said that they should bring back the bodies. You've heard it. She is clearly saying that she raised a loud cry that the bodies of our martyrs should be brought back. Think about the pain a mother whose child has been martyred must have gone through when she made this plea to have her child's remains brought back. This is a situation that the nation rarely talks about, not because it's a topic we avoid, but because it is too painful to face. When we talk about these things, it often feels like we are criticizing ourselves. There may be political differences, but these martyrs are a shared loss. We need to learn from this that we should own up to whatever we do, whether it's good or bad. As a nation, we need to collectively own up to it. It's not right that the entire nation takes ownership of successes and leaves the ownership of failure solely to the martyrs. Failure in this context refers to the failure of the war. The martyrs did not fail. They fought and gave their lives. If the strategy was wrong, then we as a nation are responsible for their loss. The nation as a whole is responsible. Clearly, when leadership makes mistakes, the entire nation bears the consequences. This is a sad day in that respect. On one hand, as I mentioned, Captain Colonel Sher Khan's bravery warms the heart, while on the other hand, the tears of this elderly mother fill the heart with shame. Moving forward, let's talk about the 9th and 10th of Muharram, where every year people speak of Yazid, the tyrant who is long dead. His name is now spoken with contempt. Because he cannot speak now, he cannot benefit or harm anyone. But the Yazidiyat of today, the principles of Yazid, are still supported by many people. These are the people who talk about the injustice in Karbala in their gatherings, but when they leave, they will return to the same old tyranny. They will stand with Yazid, support him, and return to that same place. For instance, I saw the IG of Islamabad, Ali Nasir Rivaez, recently performing duty during a Muharram procession. Religiously, they may think that they are performing an act of devotion, but when bullets were fired into people's heads on November 26th, they thought they were promoting Husseiniat. These people are the advocates of Yazidiyat and try to instill fear in people. They say Yazid has the power, and you must be afraid of him. If you speak against him, you will face violence. Yazidiyat, as they call it, is their legitimate weapon, and they want to intimidate you into silence. But at the same time, they pretend to stand with Husseiniat for a few days. The rest of the year, they stand with Yazidiyat. This is not just one example. If you look around, you will find many such people who support Yazidiyat and then put on a facade of standing with Husseiniat for a few days. Moving on, the next news is about Suhail Wai's statement. He says that the establishment has the legitimate right to use violence. He says that violence is the monopoly of the establishment and no one else has the legal right to use it. The establishment within a state is the only entity that holds the monopoly over violence. If anyone else uses violence, they crush it. He is not saying that state authority should follow the law, but that violence is legitimate for the establishment, and they have the right to use it. These are the people who claim to stand with Husseiniat, but at the same time they intimidate people using the power of Yazidiyat. They threaten to use violence against you, and they make sure that their job is secured by suppressing those who speak out against them. But at the same time they claim to stand with Husseiniat. They do both without any real understanding of the difference between Husseiniat and Yazidiyat. Their vision is blurred, their conscience is unclear. What's the issue? Why are they playing both sides? This is something we fail to understand. Moving forward, Imran Khan has made a statement. Imran Khan has been in jail for 700 days now. Yes, he says, I will spend the rest of my life in jail, but I will not accept slavery. He says, my message to everyone is that we must prefer imprisonment to the kind of slavery we are facing now. When we are not free outside, what is the point of being free? He quotes Allama Iqbal saying, the eagle soars high, it does not remain anyone's slave. This is Imran Khan's statement. And clearly, on the 10th of Muharram, he says, this kind of slavery is worse than imprisonment. Next, there's news about the use of religious symbols for financial gain. Meet Ishaq Dar, who is visiting the shrine of Dada Ali Hajweri, also known as Data Darbar. His companies, which are involved in money laundering and other allegations, have the name of Dada Ali Hajweri in their titles. He believes that using this name brings blessings to his business. You heard it right. He thinks that by putting the name of Dada Ali Hajweri on his companies, he can purify his corrupt earnings. This is the mentality that allows corruption to thrive. Recently it was reported that there was an embezzlement of 86 crore rupees at the Data Darbar. These are not isolated incidents. The Department of Awqaf, under which the shrines are governed, has also faced similar financial irregularities. The situation is clear. When corrupt people reach such places, it becomes a breeding ground for more fraud. These people who are experts in manipulation and trickery are now even using religious symbols to justify their ill-gotten gains. That wraps up our translation of Shahbaz Gill's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.